So, for more political analysis, we're now joined by The Sun's Deputy Political Editor, Ryan Saby, and former President of YouGov, Peter Kellner. Good morning to both of you. Ryan, your thoughts here, please. I mean, clearly, a Labour Party has done extremely well here. The swing is very significant in both seats, 28% in Wellingborough and 16% in Kingswood. We heard there Labour triumphant in victory. What's the story underneath those headlines?
I think it's you look at the Conservative Party, I just think that people are totally turning away from them. And anecdotally, there doesn't seem to be a great deal of enthusiasm for Sir Keir Starmer per se on the doorstep. But one thing I'd be really concerned about if I was Rishi Sunak waking up in Downing Street this morning, it'd be with a headache, of course, is the success of the Reform Party. You look at their results in Wellingborough and Kingswood, they're standing on 10 and 13%. Now, when that comes to a general election, if that's replicated, that could put a lot of Tory MPs in real danger. I just draw your attention to 1997. I think the Referendum Party directly cost the Conservative Party around 20-odd seats. So that's just a measure of how dangerous it could be. The Conservatives... Sorry.
I was just going to say there's another story for me as well. What happened to the Liberal Democrats? They lost their deposit, didn't they, in both seats?
Oh, I think in the case of the Liberal Democrats haven't done very well at all. And, you know, they're obviously focusing on areas like the southwest, maybe in the home counties where they can pick up support. So I wouldn't put too much credence on the Liberal Democrat results in these two by-elections. It's not areas where they'd expect to win. And also they may not well have put the resources into these seats, just like the Conservatives. It seems like speaking to people in and around the Conservative Party, they didn't put that much effort into campaigning here.
On purpose, so they could sort of manage expectations. Peter, the real challenge when we look at by-elections is how much can we extract from them to say, right, this is what a general election is going to look like. We know that every single time. We've had two, though, and, you know, people are describing it as a thumping victory for Labour. That gives us an idea, doesn't it, of what's coming?
To a degree. I mean, look, you plainly can't just read across from by-elections to general elections generally. If you did that, if you did the sort of exercise that Peter Snow at the BBC used to do famously on election nights, just a bit of fun, he would extrapolate. And if you do that on the Wellingborough result, if all the seats in Britain shifted the same way as Wellingborough, the Tories would be left with just 8 members of Parliament. That is not going to happen.
Yes.
But what you can do, and I've been doing the last few hours, is doing like with like, comparing by-elections last night and the last few months with the by-elections of, say, when John Major took over from Margaret Thatcher. The Tories say, look, we're going to repeat what happened in 1992. We looked as if we were dead in the water, and we came back and won the election. Well, if you look, and sometimes it's worth looking at the numbers of votes, not the percentages. When John Major was Prime Minister in the run-up to 92, in the by-elections, the Tories didn't do well. They lost around a third of the votes, the numbers of votes. So if they had 30,000 in the general election, they would have, say, 20,000 at the by-election, right? Now, under Rishi Sunak, the Tories are losing 2/3 of their votes by-elections. And in Wellingborough, it was 3/4 of the vote, the Tory vote went down. This is catastrophic. So although you can't read across directly to the general election, you can compare like with like and see the Tories are in really deep trouble.
Just in terms of that, Peter, different polls are saying different things. We had a Savanta poll saying that Labour's lead had halved. Then this morning, there's another one out saying it's fallen 7 percentage points to its lowest since June 2023. That's Savanta as well. You've also got a multi-regression poll saying that actually the Conservatives will end up with just 80 seats. So differing data from different polls.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a technical argument I engage in. I think those multiple MRP polls, huge samples and C predictions, I think they're worthless. I think there is a fundamental error, which I can bore for Britain, but I won't bother to do now. I don't believe it. The Tories will have, the Tories will lose the next election, I expect, but they'll have 150, 200, 220 MPs. They'll have they'll have a substantial number. Can I just pick up one point from just a little earlier about the Liberal Democrats? Again, they lost their deposits. They've fought 20 by-elections in this Parliament, and they've lost 14 deposits. It sounds terrible, but actually this is bizarrely quite good news. What's happening is where the Liberal Democrats can win, they do win. And where they can't win, they get practically no votes. Then what used to happen is the Liberal Democrats would get 10, 20, 25, 30% of the votes in by-elections. A decent number, a few thousand votes, it didn't do them any good except very occasionally. What's now happening is the Lib Dem vote is far more efficiently distributed. There's far fewer wasted votes. The wasted vote problem is now one for the Reform UK. They did much better than the Liberal Democrats last night, but they're not going to get any seats in the next election. The Liberal Democrats will get, I would guess, 30 or 40.
Ryan, just final word to you. Rishi Sunak today, they've got to come up with a strategy to try and bolster as much public support as possible between now and whenever they call the general election. What do they do next?
I think they're going to go back to the drawing board. They're running out of big moments until that election is called. They've got an election coming up on March the 6th, but they could have come up with tax cuts, but it looks like there's less scope for that after Jeremy Hunt received some forecasts. But this was a bad couple of weeks for Labour, possibly the worst couple of weeks for Sir Keir Starmer, with the £28 billion decision being a U-turn, the slowness and indecisiveness over the Rochdale decision. And Rishi Sunak just hasn't been able to capitalise. And he's just running out, as I say, of those big moments to actually change the political weather. It just doesn't look like it's happening. And the trouble is, it's all against the backdrop of the country going into recession. Yeah. And Labour have billed it as Rishi's recession, and they will continue to do that until we are out and growth is happening.
Yeah, we heard Rishi's recession live as those Labour MPs suddenly were elected in the overnight by-elections in their victory speeches. So I'm sure that's going to come up again and again. Thank you both so much. Ryan Sabey from The Sun, Peter Kellner, former YouGov president. It's been fascinating to get your insight.